All right, everybody, I have got Robert Riggs. And Robert Riggs is an investigative journalist that has done some of the most incredible journalism that you've ever seen, or that I've ever seen. And he has got the most incredible cold case. And he is going to tell us all about what makes this particular case so exciting. So, Robert, you want to start off by telling them a little bit about True Crime Reporter? I'm sorry. I said it backwards, didn't I? Did I? I'm editing
No,
this
you
part
said it
out now.
right.
Okay, but in your thing it says True Reporter Crime. That got me messed up.
Where's it saying that?
On your sign it says True Reporter Crime.
Well, the white,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And
True Crime Reporter. I've been thinking about getting a new logo. Maybe this is the reason I should.
Robert's going to tell us all about his podcast and why this particular episode is a game changer and what's in it for you as an audience member. Robert, take it away.
Well, True Crime Reporter, the podcast, so we're based in Dallas, and we do stories that are procedural. You will hear the actual detectives, investigators in cases. And the other thing I do, I like to examine the mind of the criminal, particularly the serial killers. I did a two-part series last year with the preeminent cold case investigator in the nation. His name is Joe Kennedy. Joe is a retired special agent from NCIS. Yes, that's NCIS as in TV. The unique thing about Joe is he started the first federal cold case unit in the United States. And today he's got a nonprofit, and people come from all over the world to his seminars to learn how to investigate these cases. Joe and I became friends and regularly talked after that podcast. And he called me and he said, I've got a case that I want you to do. We need publicity. We need this done right. It's a case outside Nashville, Tennessee, and it's the reward is $1 million. Do I have to say it again? 1 million. He got my attention right there. Yeah. All right, Joe, I'm ready. We're coming. We met Joe in Nashville, and we went about an hour south to Giles County. This is a rural area. The little town is Linville. This county seat there's Pulaski, right on the border with Alabama. Jen, you live down there. I think you know this area.
I
You know,
did. I know that area very well, and it's
yeah.
beautiful country out there.
Oh, pastoral scene, rolling hills. Dawn Grimes had a beautiful home there, 22 acres. They had a pond behind their house, and behind it, a small barn because they had a menagerie of animals. They owned 2 body shops and a repair shop. Now, Jim, he's 63, beloved in the community, in all the various community activities, well liked. They'd had, back in April 2020, they'd had a big hailstorm, and everybody was working late, and they got home late. And they were running behind to feed the animals. They went out every night, fed the animals, filled the water trough, and Jim went out. As he went out, he put a little headlamp on so he could see because it's very, very dark. And Dawn is the house getting ready, and suddenly she hears what sounds like an explosion. And she looks out the window and she can see his light, but it looks like his headlamp is on the ground. She thinks to herself, what has he done now? Has he knocked something down or whatever? She goes running back and she finds her husband on his back with a gaping shotgun wound in his chest on the verge of death. And that's where the story begins. We went out to the crime scene. This happened at night. And it's pitch black, as you know, out there. It's a rural area. You don't have any city lights or anything like that. And interestingly, the detectives and Dawn took me to the barn, and behind it is kind of a dense forest area. I couldn't get through. I tried. I couldn't get through there at night without knowing anything. And I even had a little flashlight. And then the part of the barn where the murder occurred, it's the part where there's no floodlights. And to get there, you kind of have to navigate an electric fence that was there to keep all the animals in. And, I'm walking through there. You get yourself shocked by not knowing where that is. And so you've got these barriers. And oh, by the way, he's murdered just as he's finished feeding the animals. He's turning off the water. And he had to have looked up and looked the killer in their face about 3 feet away, one point blank shotgun. as you look around the property, the rural road in front of their home, it's busy. You can see the barn and everything from the road, and it's hard to get over that fence there. So as I looked over it, I mean, I reached the same conclusion that Joe Kennedy and the investigators there reached, that somebody had been there before. Somebody had to know their way around, because they love the wildlife, they had trail cameras up. And the one place he is shot is the dark place in shadow where the trail cameras are not aimed. And so the investigators find themselves with a victim, no DNA, no forensics, no weapon. It's really important if you get the murder weapon. And the investigation begins. And I was very, very impressed by the work the detectives in the sheriff's office have done. This has gone on for 4 years. And the work they have done, it wouldn't be done here in Dallas or a big city. They wouldn't spend the kind of resources. They're blessed that they have really a group of experienced investigators who are there, and I think they'd settle there because they like that part of the country. They don't want to be in the big city. And they're really experienced and really good. And they have followed leads across the country. They've interviewed way north of 200 people. They've interviewed former employees, current employees, customers of his body shops. And it was interesting. They tell me that the employees he had let go, fired, terminated, had said that they deserved it. He's a great guy. I wasn't doing the job. And they can't find anyone that had a grudge. And as Joe Kennedy says, this should be an easy case. And they've run search warrants, dozens of search warrants. Usually today, the big technological uh, clue you can get is cell phones. You can triangulate between cell phone towers and find out, did someone have their cell phone on in that area? Did someone is approaching turn their cell phone off and then they turn it back on again? That's one of the principal techniques you'll use in homicide investigations, particularly ones, that are outdoor like this. It turned out that just in this little slice of Tennessee, in this rolling hill country, the cell phone towers are in a straight line. You cannot triangulate. But one of the investigators, who's a super nerd, said he was like, "Look, I am still going to try things." He got with AT&T and he created his own algorithmic program, and he fed in the names of 6,000 customers from the past of the body shop and other people he's had contact with, just to see that somewhere, maybe a mile away or more, where they could pick it up. Were they around the place? Were they drive anywhere near? No, they weren't. So here we are. And you know what struck me is Dawn, his wife, um, didn't move. And she'd taken the approach, whoever did this is not driving me out of this home. She started by draping the fence with a long sign that said, "We will not forget, we will not give up." After I interviewed with her, and she really even got more charged up and determined that we've got to do this. She put up a huge billboard in the front of the home. It's a rural road, but it's a busy road because it connects two interstates. She's got a full-blown billboard now offering $1 million for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the people who killed her husband.
So I have to ask you, though, I know this is a horrible question, but people are going to ask, could it be that she was the one who did it? Because she was the one who was there.
Well, of course, everybody always looks. That's a natural inclination. Especially, and if it's the wife is dead, they really are looking at the husband or the boyfriend. If it's a live-in, they'd explored all of that. And I have to tell you, I did an interview with her and I asked her some tough questions. If she did it, I'm nominating her for the Oscar. But in terms of behavioral cues, the things you see, and I got a lot of experience of sitting across the table from people who are lying to me, both as an investigative reporter for 30 years and a congressional investigator. I didn't see any of that. Did not see any of it. My experience is in covering crime so many years, and I'm from a family that was involved with law enforcement, Texas Rangers, and you name it. Criminals always talk. They talk in bars. They tell somebody that it usually happens. Somehow there's some hint. So there's someone out there, some people that know. Maybe you've got just a little bit piece of it. But I've seen so many cases where killers get in bars, a little too much to drink, start telling stories. So the other thing we often see in homicides, particularly, if they're not a repeat offender or serial killer, because serial killer, they have no remorse. But what you do find is that their minds start bothering them. They have regrets and their behaviors changed. They'll start drinking. There are these behavioral changes. Now, the other odd change sometimes is, on the rare cases, they decide, I'm going straight. They start going to church. They find Jesus, walk the straight and narrow, change things about their life. But typically it's the other way. It's drinking, tell somebody. So there are other people. There are other people that know. And the detectives are trying to assure people that we will do everything we can to protect you if you come forward for $1 million. And I'm thinking $1 million, that's going to loosen some lips.
I think so. I think absolutely that's going to loosen some lips. So let's say somebody is watching this and they say, oh my gosh, I might know
Mhm.
something. What can they do? Can people go down there? Do they look into things? Or are you looking for people who might already know the information to come forward?
Well, they can go to our website. We're working on the story. It'll be up, and you will see the phone numbers to call and how to collect your reward. But I think you're gonna want to watch the story or listen to the story to see, does this trigger something you've heard? You want to hear where it happened, who it happened to, the time it happened. Just to place back 4 years ago. Okay, did along the way I hear something like that? Did I overhear a little tidbit of something? Maybe they were in jail on a DUI, but they heard a conversation in a cell. Maybe they were in a bar. They heard people talking. Somebody's girlfriend talking about, hey, my significant other, I've heard this. It always trickles out in some way, somewhere like that. There are people out there that know. I mean, I think there's a handful of people that know. All the numbers are there to call the investigators.
Okay. And we will have links to all of your things in the description. So people can just click right on it and get right to it. And definitely, if
And
you're watching this, you do want to watch Robert's podcast and find out all the details because there are so many layers to this story that we're not even talking about here.
the podcast is True Crime Reporter. We're on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, you name it. And then we have a YouTube channel, the same thing, True Crime Reporter. And we're going to put the full video version of the episode up there so you can see the property. You can see where this happened. You'll see the investigators walk Don and I back to where it happened. One of the detectives is going to show you where he believes this person laid in wait in the night. And I have to say, these investigators tell me that all these years later, now you got to realize they're working many other cases. Even the sheriff, who now is retired and gone to another security occupation, they all say, look, I still wake up in the morning and I think about this case. And I go to bed and I think about it. One of the investigators, one of the most experienced guys, a lieutenant named Shane Hunter, who's now with the State Bureau of Investigation, he's like, I want to put the handcuffs on this person. That determination, even though he's with the State Bureau of Investigation in Tennessee, he still is working this case. And listen, when you see this on YouTube or the podcast, share it. Your social platforms, your social media, wherever you are, share it. The more people that can see it, the more the hope is for Dawn Grimes and her family of finding out who murdered her
And
husband.
you said they have multiple children as well, right? Between the two
Oh,
of them.
they have a blended family married years ago. Oh gosh, there's a slew of grandchildren. Unsolved cases just hang over families. They carry a weight, particularly the murder victims' families. It just hangs on them. And maybe he didn't tell his wife. about some disgruntled something. Maybe he didn't want to worry her. Who knows? And then she worries that, look, is that, well, often I would be the one going out to feed. Were they looking for me? Was somebody waiting back there for me? Did I have did somebody have a problem with me? So you can imagine how those questions haunt them.
Oh, I can't. I cannot even imagine any part of dealing with that, especially something like that where it was at the house, right? That would make you worry. In Tennessee, people feel so safe, especially in those small towns.
And I asked her that. I said, Dawn, my wife and I would have moved. And she's like, I'm not leaving. She's determined. They are not driving me out of this house. And I'm having all the C signs up and I'm keeping on the pressure. She is just stoic about we're gonna solve this for all of us.
Well, thank you, Robert. And I'll have all those links down there in the description. And we look forward to watching and to finding out more details soon.
Well, Jen, thank you for having me on.